Hello again, everyone, and I'm back with one final cocktail for the year 2020. Let's bid farewell to this interesting year in style. So, to celebrate New Year's Eve, I thought we should pick a very cool, classic, and elegant cocktail, and so I chose the Manhattan, very simple cocktail, with a very old history. It goes back further even than the martini. And when a drink goes back that far, as usual, it's hard to track down its history. So instead, I'm going to kind of just look at one of the myths surrounding this drink and a little bit about what it means. The most popular tale surrounding the creation of the Manhattan somehow involves Winston Churchill. The story goes that a party was thrown by Jenny Jerome, aka Lady Randolph Churchill, aka Mother of Winston, at the Manhattan Club in 1874, and the drink was invented for that occasion. However, most cocktail historians call this one a myth, as Mrs. Churchill was back in England at the time, waiting to present the world with the British Bulldog. In fact, the banquet in question, which was held to celebrate Samuel Jones Tilden's successful run for governor, was held on the same day as Winston's christening. Side note, Tilden later ran for president against Rutherford B. Hayes 2 years later. He won the popular vote, but lost the Electoral College. I wonder if he drowned his sorrows in a Manhattan or two. Whatever the truth of its origin, the Manhattan Club did eventually claim ownership over the cocktail, which came to symbolize a modern and urban sophistication to that grand pastime of drinking, which until that point had been more about downing whatever you could get your hands on. According to Louis Beebe, author of the Stork Club Bar Book, because of its unrivaled tonic qualities as a restorative and element for firming the moral fiber, as well as because of the prevailing American taste for drinks with whiskey bases at this time, the classic and standard Manhattan cocktail was an almost universal right until the end of the 19th century. Another person who perhaps encouraged the drink's status as an emblem of sophistication was J.P. Morgan. He was known to drink Manhattans from 5 to 8 p.m. every night at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, which was located on 34th Street and 5th Avenue, where the Empire State Building now stands. The drink has a strong connection to those opulent hotel lobby bars that are a thing of the past these days. But you still find it in those more upscale locations like country clubs and cigar lounges. But with a drink this simple, you don't need a lot of money or some exclusive membership to enjoy it. Okay, so one of the interesting things about the Manhattan is that it's a very adaptable cocktail. It's a drink that's 150 years old, and so obviously there's been some variations on the original Manhattan over the years. We're going to keep it as classic and simple as possible with 4 ingredients, and that is Canadian rye whiskey. Some Manhattans use bourbon and American whiskey. We're using Canadian because that was popular during Prohibition when it was difficult to get your hands on American whiskey. We're going to use sweet vermouth. Some Manhattans will call for dry vermouth, but we're going to use sweet. Bitters, Angostura aromatic bitters. This is my first time using them, if you couldn't tell. Just a dash of this is what you're going to need. Then maraschino cherries for the garnish. Okay, so you will need a cocktail shaker, even though there will be no shaking today. So the first thing you're going to do is take your whiskey, and you're actually going to do about 2.5 ounces of whiskey. So let's get that going now. Bear with me as I do this. And depending on the recipe, like I said, there's a lot of recipes out there. And the amount of whiskey and vermouth, it varies from recipe to recipe. But just kind of follow your heart. Okay, so there's 2.5 ounces of whiskey. And you're going to do not quite a full ounce of sweet vermouth. So I'm going to do about 3/4 of an ounce here. And a lot of people are very particular about their Manhattans. And so it's not going to be perfect the first time you make it. That's okay. This is all about experimentation with new things. And so all the recipes I've read just call for a dash of bitters. So I'm just going to do that. Now, like I said, you're supposed to stir this one and not shake it. So the opposite of what James Bond likes. So I'm just going to stir it up. I don't have one of those fancy cocktail stirring things. So I'm just going to use a spoon. All right, once you've got it all stirred up, then you can strain it into your cocktail glass. Now, I've seen Manhattans in all kinds of glasses. Apparently, there's even a glass called the Manhattan glass. Excuse this person, or this cat. But I'm gonna use a martini glass because it's what I have. And then, of course, you garnish it with one maraschino cherry. Toothpicks work better because then you can just plop the whole toothpick in there. Okay. Cheers to the Manhattan. So, I know none of us are spending New Year's Eve in any fancy places like the Manhattan Club this year, but that doesn't mean we can't bring a little Gilded Age elegance into our homes to celebrate the end of 2020. So thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for more cocktails in 2021. Cheers, and Happy New Year.